Good morning. Wherever, however you are joining us, Jeff, the producer, apparently didn't give you sound. So now you should have sound. Let us know in the comments. My name is Neil with SFJ4x4.com.
No, you're Goose.
I am Goose. For those folks who can't see,
They're not quite the full.
I'm rocking aviators.
Yeah, they need to be a little bit bigger for your face to really fit.
Interesting.
Those are actually small.
As
for
a
you.
product of the 80s, I'm kind of insulted that we're only half aviator here.
Yeah.
Wow. I feel like these are a sufficient size. I really don't want them any bigger. But
Well, if you're gonna be rocking the '80s aviators, you gotta
embrace it, man.
Yeah.
these were this was a gas station purchase when I was about to do a bender to the Carolinas. I was headed to Charleston about a year ago, and I had a migraine, and I just needed to go through, and I was like powering through, and so it was by the power of Advil and gas station sunglasses.
Yeah.
I threw it all on, and I powered through my banger down there. But anyways, for those at home who can't see me, still doing the eye surgery piece. I thought I was good, and then I sat down and I saw the studio lights, and I was like,
bright in here.
It's bright in here. It's bright. It's bright. So the aviators went on because that's all I got today. So, well, I already threw Jeff out there because he didn't give us sound right away.
Yeah, that sounds.
So who are you with your jerky shirt?
The best Thanksgiving hoodie. Anyway, the maddest mad scientist Scott Brown.
I'm glad to see that we're producing hoodies, and finally, I think those are going to be going out today or this week. And Jeffrey, our producer, you have your.
Yeah, I have the no matter what season it is, adventure awaits, and
Yes.
that's got the zombie chasing the turkey, chasing the Christmas tree.
And these can be yours. All you have to do is head over to sfj4x4.com and place an order. You can hit us up on our Facebook Messenger and put in your order. And there's a very good chance, not a great chance, but a good chance that if you place your order today, you may have these for Thanksgiving. You're going to be wearing that for the Christmas parade this week?
He says that, but our listeners, for the most part, our listeners won't even hear the episode until Wednesday.
He's a very good point.
So you probably won't
That's a very
get
good
it
point.
if you order it when you hear this.
Yeah.
That's true.
Unless you're live with us right now.
And if you are live with us, I would really love if you go out and you could share the live into your favorite social group or local club, page. Just get the word out and allow some other folks to get in and enjoy, all things automotive and Jeep related. Additionally, as you're well aware, we are live on the Book of Faces, and we are live on YouTube.
And speaking of being live, we have a lot of comments rolling in this morning. So Mudhorn Gladiator, good morning with first.
Good morning. Got first this morning.
Giaga Jeepers, good morning. Amy Brown, good morning. Daddy Jeep, good morning, guys, and he could hear us. Mudhorn Gladiator had commented that they had to beat Joe and Roy to the comments. Well, you did a good job there.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Fred Moda saying good morning. Brad Davis saying happy Monday, fellas. Justin saying what up, guys? I'm babysitting today.
Nice.
And then Joe Brilla is looking for his pants as usual.
Fair.
Eric Elliott, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to everybody. We appreciate you getting into the comments and being an active participant in this program. And like I said, if you are joining in some capacity, spread the message, get it out there, put it into your local social groups and Jeep clubs and automotive groups, and let's keep the fun going in the process. We are prepared to talk about a fantastic topic today.
Yeah,
and it is the last kind of quote unquote normal-ish podcast
for the year.
Then
we'll do our Christmas special.
We got our 3 weeks of Christmas.
That means I got to write lyrics.
Means I got to sing. You got the easy job as far as I'm concerned. Actually, the hardest job is our listeners who have to listen to me sing.
That's true.
That is true.
Probably the reality.
Fair. But they all look forward to it. I haven't figured it out.
I don't understand. They just like me make a fool of myself.
Yeah. Jerry's saying good morning as well. But before we get into the episode, take a few moments, like, subscribe, follow along, give us a 5-star review, but also not just give us a star rating, but go in and actually leave a review so we know what you like about the show, what you want to see more of. Put that in writing in the review for us.
And for those who might not have seen the title or can't see it or are going to be joining us late, what is it? What are we talking about today?
Well, Elon just allegedly dropped an H-bomb, so we're going to talk about that.
He teased us. He might be killing the EVs.
Yeah.
We might be killing EVs.
Yeah, we're going to break that out and talk about the advantages, disadvantages, what we know, what we don't know, what the rumors are. And then also real quick into the comments again, we got Oaks Whittling saying, hi, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving. Bill McWilliams saying good morning. And then Daddy Jeep saying, it's like watching a car crash. Not sure what that's about.
I think that's about listening to me sing Christmas carols. Let's be honest.
Oh, it probably is. It's one of those things that you don't want to watch it, but you can't help but watch
Correct.
it.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's ambulance chasing my Christmas carol. I'm going to drop an album just for Rob, and maybe
Whoa.
Rob of Daddy Jeep Garage YouTube channel. Maybe he wants to do some duets.
Yeah,
right?
collab.
We'll collab.
We could do a full recording episode
We'll do a
of
full-
audio, and then we'll release the album with a free special T-shirt or hoodie promo with it.
Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
I know, which is why we got to do it. Nobody knows they want it.
That's right. Nobody knows. We know what you want. Before we get into our main event, our main attraction, this is the week of the Christmas parade, and we are expecting a nice turnout. We have some potential for some wintry mix, in fact, so it'll potentially feel like winter. Last I saw was some cold temperatures will be coming in and maybe some flurries on Friday. And that is Black Friday. Hopefully our listeners at home will still prioritize joining us. You might be hearing it, Wednesday or listening to it Thanksgiving. You know what? Some people turn Christmas music on for Thanksgiving, or just a slow, family meal, like subtle, music in the background.
It's football, man. What are you talking about?
Well, you could turn us on in the background.
You could do that.
That's maybe what you should do for
much
Thanksgiving
better than
dinner.
Christmas music.
I agree.
Just load up like 7 of the podcasts and
Just give it that extra day before you turn on the Christmas music, because starting Black Friday, everybody, everywhere you go, will be playing Christmas music.
Oh, they already are.
Me and Mariah Carey, we're bosom buddies.
Already are. And if you're
I'd like to be.
I'm sure you would.
and if you're going home for Thanksgiving to Antarctica,
Yes.
make sure you watch some.
Home to Antarctica.
Make sure you download some episodes so we can have all 7 continents.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check them all off the list.
Yes.
This Friday, parade. Join us. Be here in person. Be part of a huge conglomeration of people who are decorating their Jeeps. All Jeep models are welcome.
I'm just saying, we're shooting for 100 this year.
Where we land here at about 4:30. We start our own lineup. As of this weekend, we still did not have a full confirmation from the parade organizers. This is their first time, while the parade has been going on for eons. This particular group organizing it, this is their first time. And so as of this weekend, we still do not have any confirmation of where the parade is lining up or anything, honestly, anything. We have had absolutely nothing.
Well,
We'll cheap our
you know
way
what we
through.
do have? We have a shout out to Freedom Crawlers, because they're going to bring some people to help line up the Jeeps and help keep that organized.
We're going to be lining up here at our facility and doing some parking and organizing vehicles so that we will control what we can control. And then we'll go get in line somewhere. And we think that the parade route is largely unchanged year after year.
What I heard is the Jeep parade will be unchanged.
The Jeep parade is going to do what we're
just
going
to do us.
Yep.
We're going to Jeep our way through it.
Yeah,
and it'll be
absolutely.
fine. It'll be fine.
Back to comments again, because it's just the comments are on fire today. Joe Harper saying, good morning, Jeep peeps. Jerry
morning.
Huber saying, maybe we will see a new version of Cash for Clunkers to handle all the early EVs that just aren't living up to expectations.
Wah, wah.
Roy Hill saying, good morning, buddies. Have a great Thanksgiving. Joe Brilla saying some songs should be left unsung and that he plays Pink Floyd. And looks like the collector's in here waving. Acor will be bringing Jeeps as well, so expect
Outstanding.
Acor to be here.
Outstanding.
So we've
I
got
hope so.
Acor, we've got Freedom Crawlers. I believe the Tool City group is going to bring some Jeeps.
Tool City Jeep Jam. Yep. Really encourage all the clubs to come out. This is a non-denominational celebration of Jeeps and all things festive.
Yeah.
Festivus.
That's right.
That's this for the rest of us.
We should
All
really
right.
get into this episode, though.
We should. We
should.
We should also set the timer so we knew what we were doing.
Well,
I was trying to point at it for our production, for our
Yeah.
producer.
I wonder what you're
Give me a
pointing at.
timer. Give
Right
me a
over his
timer so
head.
I know what I'm vamping for, Jeffrey.
No,
Thank
you don't need a timer. What is that stuff?
Shoot. All right. So, Elon Musk. So a teasing article that we saw. Well, so first of all, let's be honest. Like, I think I should first and foremost say I love electric vehicle technologies. I think if you've listened to any of our podcasts, you'll know that I've been a proponent of EV technologies for forever. And realistically, that is seated in a very young age as a little kid and going to Radio Shack and buying little electric motors. You used to be able to go into the back and they had, parts drawers, and you could buy all the different wiring and connectors, and you could buy different motors of varying sizes.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to take these electric motors and I would adapt them to my Lego sets. And they had little drive gears on them, and you could use rubber bands or little drive shaft applications, and try to use them. And the cool thing about EV is that, especially for the off-road industry, is immediate torque, right? And then as a little kid trying to learn how to basically utilize a rheostat function and control the energy exerted. So if we all had little electric race car tracks and little electric trains, you could turn your dial up to make it go faster or slower, right? Which is basically adding resistance to our EV. So at a very young age, I was like, it'd be really cool is if we took a motor and we stuck it on each wheel of an off-road vehicle, and you had this hub drive technology. That would make the most sick off-road vehicle, because that is just basically all the independent suspension with each drive wheel and weight and all that kind of stuff. Okay. Nobody can actually do that successfully.
Nope.
We are not prepared for that. I was prepared for that in Lordstown Motors, and then they left me wanting. They sucked. Don't worry, I didn't have any investment in you, Lordstown Motors, or anything.
Yeah, that's fine. So I have to.
So I loved EVs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did you
always.
love EVs?
I did not.
Oh, okay. You were an ICE, internal combustion engine guy.
Sort of.
Okay.
So I remember as a real young kid walking with my grandma, because she didn't drive. She walked everywhere. And I remember telling my grandma that someday I'm going to hope or design it myself. A car you could pour water into and oxygen would come out the tailpipe. And so because of that,
are you okay, Jeffrey?
No.
I'm all choked up over there.
Are you all choked up? What are you? I mean, are you the death of EVs? Are you mourning their loss? Are you excited about the mad scientist creation of hydrogen? What?
Honestly, I just choked on my own spit.
You know who's not surprised? Nobody. There's not a listener surprised. There's not a viewer surprised.
Yeah.
We're trying to be professional
We're
here.
all
We're
bringing
really
our
good
A
with
game.
teams.
Jeff's is just choking on stuff.
This is Jeff's A game.
It's true.
So the part that young mad scientist didn't understand was, what it took to split atoms and to make all that happen.
You didn't know how to split an atom?
No,
at that
I
time?
was like, hey, we got water. It's got 2 parts hydrogen. It's got some oxygen. That makes sense. We could split that. Oxygen come out the tailpipe as a leftover thing. We need oxygen. That's good.
Who knew that the mad scientist reference of today with the goggles that Davey did actually represents him as a 6-year-old at home trying to.
It's fair. We
create
are who
this.
we are. This
Yeah.
is not.
It's not an act.
This is not an act.
No.
There's nothing to hide here. This is what it is. It doesn't get any better, folks.
Well, it does get a little bit better, and we'll talk about it at the end today. But if you're on Patreon, well, let's just say if you're not on Patreon, go sign up right now.
You should be.
There's a really good video release that just happened on Patreon.
Oh boy. Oh, fair. Oh, yay.
Yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So what are we talking about? Because I started talking about EVs and the death of them, and you
Yes.
started to talk about water and air and tailpipes.
Yes. So many years later, I think honestly in one of my high school science classes, and we're kind of talking about that, I remembered that memory, and I was like, could you actually do it? So spoiler alert, you can't, because splitting the atoms in a car, firstly, kind of undoable, but it actually takes so much energy to split them that you don't have anything left to drive your car down the road, which makes me sad because water is most abundant and pretty easy to transport and all that kind of stuff. So then we go into already split molecules. So you have hydrogen. Now, some manufacturers, I have a list when we get there, have worked on this technology. Toyota themselves has gone on and say they are a big proponent of this technology. And you can actually make an internal combustion engine run on hydrogen, which little known, I honestly did not know this until researching. 200 years ago, one of the first internal combustion engines actually ran on oxygen and hydrogen.
That is cool.
What I thought was most interesting about
200 years ago?
That's what my source said.
What source did you look? I mean, 200 years ago.
I have a list so long of sources I can't say.
But of course, I
it
mean,
now.
the steam engine is 200 plus years old.
I was going to say, that's probably accurate.
And it's not out of the question. 'Cause I know the diesel comes out to be about 140 years, 130 years old.
The thing I found most interesting about it as an internal combustion is that hydrogen has a higher combustible range than gasoline, which means that you can come up with more variety in mixtures from leanness to richness and how you design that engine. So you actually have more flexibility with hydrogen.
So I want to circle back to kind of the teaser of the episode and kind of give the people what they came for. There is a rumor from, I don't know, somebody close to Elon Musk, and there is no validating source to substantiate this.
You can Google and find a billion different articles saying that Elon Musk said this, but not one of those articles has a substantial source referenced.
All right. There is not anything to directly connect him and substantiate this as a claim, but the claim is that Musk, and if you have been living under a rock for the last 15 years, I will just enlighten you. He does a couple things with electric vehicles. Yeah. And
he actually loathes the idea of hydrogen and is a huge proponent of electric vehicles.
Well, and so the storyline is that that possibly seeing some of the inherent current limitations in electric vehicle technologies and infrastructure, that as just a sensible businessman, it may be beneficial to his brand to release a hydrogen-powered vehicle.
Tesla Model H 2026.
So whether there's actually any truth or relativity to this, we have absolutely no idea. We're here to just kind of continue the gossip and kind of play upon this potential statement. Now, I'm going to be the first person to say that when his quote-unquote truck was teased, it was also just straight up rumor mills. And then when we saw the first pictures of the truck, everybody thought that was also a rumor or a joke or a ruse. And so it would not be out of the question that this is kind of his playbook.
Until we see him on stage with a hammer with a fuel cell, we really don't know what's going on.
No, but I think we're going to see it. I really do, because it's where the technology is taking us. And I believe that working towards that zero emission efficiently, you're going to see more production in the hydrogen market.
Yep.
And because he's a smart businessman, he's going to capitalize on that as quickly as he can. So to have a Model H by 2026, I wouldn't be surprised.
Now, I am going to kind of recenter the conversation into the little bit of the quote unquote death of the EV, and kind of expand slightly upon what Jerry Huber is saying is those vehicles living up to our expectations. As a proponent of continued redevelopment or development of electric vehicle technologies, I do believe that there is a possibility for it to be part of our future going forward. I like to think of vehicles much like kind of the financial sector. The average investment, financial advisor, their recommendation is diversification. Is basically not to put all your eggs in one basket. And so as an automotive enthusiast, I like the idea that we have other options other than your standard gasoline powered internal combustion and diesel. I would have loved, and if you listen to my, these previous podcasts, I would love to have a diesel EV option, which we, for whatever reason, that's, I don't know, mind numbing to the population, but whatever. But an alternative option to, gasoline, internal combustion and diesel. And so the idea of having PHEV or straight EVs or a hybrid, diversification of platforms is beneficial to our automotive community as a whole. So I kind of support the production of it all. Most recently, and why I think we're seeing more blips of hydrogen conversations, most recently, certainly amongst the Jeep community, Stellantis is really, really struggling with the cumbersome release, launch, and kind of maintenance of the 4xe lines. Mm-hmm. And while I absolutely adore the engineering, the community that's grown up around this, the average consumer is not wholly invested in kind of being the beta testers for this.
Right.
And so the average consumer is really struggling to, with the constant recalls and the potentiality for the risk associated with owning one of these. Like, hey, you can't plug it in anymore. Don't charge it at your house. There's reports of charging stations across the country basically having a disclaimer where they're not allowing Jeep, Chrysler, Stellantis vehicles to charge at the charging stations. Again, are these isolated events that just get a lot of airtime on the electric vehicle forums? I don't know. Is there actually some greater issue here? Factually, Stellantis is struggling to make the 4xe program meet the needs of the average consumer. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think we're hearing more about hydrogen.
In general, even after all of those hurricanes and stuff, how many EV in general were having fire issues because of the salt water?
Sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it is a hazard to begin with. And then there's also, from a fire rescue standpoint, there's a high risk involved in rescuing from those vehicles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's definitely there are many pros that there are also some unforeseen cons that we just kind of weren't fully prepared for as an automotive industry and as the average consumer.
Yep, and that's what we always want to do when we're looking at something to fuel our transportation, is we want to look at something that's really abundant, which if you don't know, hydrogen is one of the most abundant things in the universe. It's everywhere. The biggest problem with hydrogen is it likes to get chummy with other molecules, which is actually how the cars work. So since we can't split the atoms into their parts, we then combine them. So that you are actually not just the internal combustion hydrogen engine and the fuel cell hydrogen, which then works with electric cars. Water comes out as a byproduct.
Right.
So you're actually just dripping water out the back as you're driving along.
Right. Our primary liquid is dihydrogen, to my knowledge, and basically it's the combination of two hydrogen cells.
Yep.
Where at a molecular level, people are getting real loosey-goosey, and we create heat energy.
Yeah,
is the kind of the root cause of the function there.
They combine it with oxygen, and they get chummy and make water. And
through that process,
with that reaction, we have energy expelled, and then we use that energy to go down the road. Now, so some of the vehicles that are currently or have been out with this technology was we have the Honda Clarity. They also are working on a CRV FCEV, which is actually joint with GM, which I thought was super interesting. They have the Toyota Mirai.
Yes.
And they have swapped one of those motors into a Hilux pickup.
So the Toyota Motor Company actually started hydrogen production in '92.
Yes.
And you know what? What was that GM video, that docuseries? Who killed the electric car? Do you remember
Maybe.
that
That sounds
documentary?
familiar.
And I'm fairly certain that was from a late 80s or early 90s, the very first EV car conversation.
You're talking about the GM car where they went and repoed them.
Yeah,
from everybody and crushed them.
where people in black suits showed at people's
Yes.
houses and took their cars back.
Took their cars away.
I want to jump into the comment real quick because Joe Brilla just asked, how is it any more risk than 18 gallons of gasoline? And I want to take a moment just to answer
EV?
EV.
Okay.
EV is more dangerous to fire rescue personnel because, unlike the movies, gas tanks don't simply just explode every time there's
Come
a car
on.
accident. Where
Just in Ford Pintos.
when you're dealing with an EV vehicle, you cut the wrong spot trying to rescue somebody or extricate them from the vehicle, you get electrocuted. It is actually very dangerous. That's why they have the big orange trunks of wire so that it identifies to fire rescue personnel. Don't cut here. There's a lot more hazards involved in knowing the risk of that and the fact that the batteries do not just get put out easily. Gasoline fires are very easy to control. Electric battery fire is not as easy to control.
Well, and I think that a lot of that, if we're just kind of creating a broad range of understanding, looking from a bird's eye view, it's because we've been putting out automotive fires for 100 years.
Yes.
Right. And I think that that's where we're splitting the hairs, is to say we have, just like anything, practice makes perfect. Throughout all of your experience as, fire rescue or first responder, even my very limited experience in first responding, we had to put out a flaming, it was a bucket of gas or something.
Yeah.
They lit something and it just kind of sat there and smoldered, and we had to use the different propellants to put it out. We had that readily available to us as the very mild first response that I did.
But even so, the fire is less likely to happen with gasoline than it is with an EV.
Yep. So back to vehicles. We have the Hyundai Nexo. We have the Mercedes-Benz F-Cell. We have the Hyundai Tucson FC EV. Land Rover's working on something. BMW is, and obviously GM. The Toyota is the most sold vehicle with about 14,300 sedans. Hyundai has sold 1,600 cars in 6 years. So that's flying off the showroom floor there.
Wow.
Right.
They are talking about with the CRV that it will be 300 a year projected, and they're going to be all lease, and they're going to be primarily in California.
So I actually believe the Honda Clarity is no longer in production, is what I believe to be the case. But
yes,
it was due to lackluster sales. And I think part of the issue is there's just not a lot of understanding.
They literally didn't tell me how many were made. And just so you have this round, there's about 17,000 hydrogen cars on the U.S. roads currently, which obviously is 95% Toyota.
Right. Right. Well, and it's interesting because when we talk about infrastructure, which is actually one of our biggest challenges with EV, and I think it's interesting, and I really hope, and again, I'm here to stand on my soapbox for EV technology. I really hope this is not an E85 craze, right?
Yeah.
So we really see EV technology kind of explode onto the scene in the last 5 years, I feel like. And certainly from Stellantis for fact. And
I think Stellantis got on board because it was becoming a trend.
Well, and that's likely
and because of the emissions regulations from the government and trying to meet that standard, you almost had to start exploring the EV world.
That's literally why Land Rover said that they are doing the hydrogen and checking out is because by 36 they have to be 100% zero emissions.
Sure, which is challenging when you look at if we have 150 years with emissions-based vehicles, and it's not say that it's a worthy pursuit, but a challenging one regardless for these manufacturers. But I was going to say with the Great Recession in 2007, how quickly we forget things, and people fuss and moan about gas prices right now, but relative to that time, the gas prices were astronomical and they were hard to come by. So we turned to corn as an alternative fuel source, and which is the refining process of that corn is how we eventually get E85. And so you get ethanol, right? And so we start to talk a lot about ethanol, and this program is not about ethanol. And I will absolutely wave my flag of hatred for ethanol myself, which that is not today. I'm not going to do that today. But we took an industry, and all of a sudden we pumped an entire huge amount of federal and local monies into the production of ethanol. In 2007, 2008. And there's these massive, amazing, remarkable refineries that would just basically felt like they sprung up overnight. And obviously they did this largely in the Plain States. And I think it's fascinating because it's one of those things that doesn't get a lot of airtime, quite frankly, because it's not by any type of densely populated cities anywhere, right? And so we explode with the production of ethanol, thinking that somehow this is going to
save us.
Only to understand that ethanol itself in kind of its purest form is highly caustic, which just absolutely jeopardized the utilization of older vehicles, seals, rubber, plastic composites, underground tanks. We had ethanol seeping into underground storage or from underground storage, contaminating local water sources and neighborhoods. I was there in Pittsburgh when they had to do a big hazmat remediation of a particular gas station I went to.
Not to mention how hot it burns.
Yeah, ethanol was this kind of, and then additionally, how much energy it took to produce ethanol.
Yeah.
All right, so this is why
how much you have to burn to get the same output as a gasoline,
as a standard petroleum gas, right? So we thought at a moment ethanol was going to be our future, and it just simply wasn't. And there is a time and a place for ethanol now as we start to understand it better, that we are removed from that initial push.
It's okay in small doses, which is why we always see 10% or so is in your normal gasoline. It's a mixture of that. So we're not 100% on it. It's a little bit easier for the cars to not corrode and that kind of stuff. Unless you have a 36 Ford, and then you go and you get the non-ethanol fuel.
Totes. I get it, right?
I mean, this is back to what, leaded versus unleaded.
Almost.
Almost. And so I pray that EV technology is not the ethanol of 2024, right?
Yeah.
That we're not, that this current concern that we're experiencing with some of the safety protocols, some of the mileage range. But I do believe, based on this manufacturing list and a number of the other businesses touting that they are going to be pursuing this and investing in it, that we have the potentiality to move away from EV in this kind of this moment of falter, right?
Yeah.
Or at least it feels like that.
And it's kind of early to see because, like I said, we have about 17,000 hydrogen vehicles on the road.
Way more than I would have guessed.
We have about 3 million EVs currently on the road.
Sure.
So
also higher than I would have guessed.
Comparative, that's a pretty big spread. So
less than 1%.
Did you see where most of those hydrogen vehicles are? I'm going to talk about that here in a second.
I did not find that, but something I did want to talk about was what's the efficiency of a hydrogen vehicle? And how much does it cost? Now, I couldn't find really good numbers on current, like today pricing.
Mm-hmm.
So I have in 2020, it was about $16 a gallon. So still not cheaper than gasoline. And hydrogen is measured by kilograms, not by gallons.
Right. I was going to say, I'm going to need the computer to do a conversion for kg to gallons of petrol.
The fuel tank on a Toyota Mirai is about 5 kilograms, and it gets about 66 miles per gallon. Now, the biggest challenge with just a regular and internal combustion hydrogen engine is they're happiest at a standard constant output. So if you want to do a hydrogen internal combustion generator where you set it at 2,000 RPM and let her run, she's happy. But if we want to get in and be America and be able to stamp on the gas and take off and then slow down and that kind of stuff, that's a challenge. and the efficiency is not great.
Right. The efficiency decreases exponentially.
Yep.
And the stability of it, I understand, as far as how it detonates, changes as well.
Yes, it's a little bit more.
I pulled up the prices. It actually, there's different ways that it's produced too, whether it's electrolysis or from natural gas.
Yep.
And there's different prices depending on how it was made.
Oh, interesting.
So like if it's from electrolysis, it can be anywhere from $5 to $12 per kilogram. If it's from natural gas, it's $1.50 per kilogram, but it has a large carbon footprint.
Yep.
And
Because
then
it releases carbon dioxide. Then
if
when
it's
they do
for
it.
if it's for a light duty fuel cell vehicle, that's $16.50 per kilogram. But it's expected to drop as more retail stations open and is used more.
And that is a challenge. Currently, there is not many stations available for this. So much so that I thought this was interesting. Toyota, to try to help sales, was giving away like 15,000 amounts of hydrogen per car, and basically saying, "Come buy our car, and we'll give you free fuel."
Yeah.
Because it's such a challenge. Now, once that runs out, you're on your own.
Yeah, but hopefully by then they'll have more stations, and
Which was our conversation with EVs.
It's a long
as well.
game of sorts.
hydrogen for transit buses I thought was the most interesting because this actually breaks it down for what the equivalent would be if it was an actual diesel bus.
Okay.
So liquid hydrogen for a transit bus can cost around $9 to $10 per kilogram, which is equivalent to $4 to $5 per gallon of diesel.
Which is kind of where we're sitting as a nation right now.
Yeah.
And of course, we have a much more, well, we don't know that we have a lesser carbon footprint between the diesel. Now, I have always been a proponent. And if you are unaware, right, so Jeffrey brings up basically the two primary ways that we arrive at hydrogen. One is through the standard refining process of fossil fuels. And so ultimately, and this is a piece that I've always kind of loved, and it's really very simple because it goes back to a number of our forefathers, and specifically Rockefeller, and the discovery of oil and refinement, and then kerosene. And so we take a fossil fuel, and whether that's natural gas or crude oil or something, and then we go through the process of breaking it down through simpler parts and
into its components.
And so hydrogen is specifically derived from natural gas, but through the refining process, which is steam methane refining or reforming, is the actual specific process for pulling hydrogen out of natural gas. Which is a super fascinating thing, which makes it, obviously, we talk about it being a non-renewable resource, right? It doesn't put us further ahead in our...
And you're still releasing tons of carbon dioxide.
And we still have a ton of carbon dioxide. But when we talk about, the practice makes perfect when it comes to fire rescue, when we talk about infrastructure that we already have, we go back to me and my hub motor technology. Like, if humans have been doing something for decades or maybe even 100 years, it's way easier for us to kind of keep banging our head in the same spot over and over again and go, okay, well, it's just a little bit better, so I'm going to keep banging my head in this spot, which is exactly how we're currently getting our hydrogen. And so we have, quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes for people listening at home, the powers that be are going, hey, we can pull hydrogen out of fossil fuels, but why would I really worry about pulling hydrogen out of fossil fuels if I could just do gasoline, and we already have gas stations everywhere, and as a businessman, I'm just going to sell gasoline because it just makes more sense.
Right.
Why fix what isn't broken from a business standpoint, Now, the cool piece comes into, as Jeffrey had mentioned, is the renewable energy of electrolysis and our ability to utilize solar, wind, hydroelectric power to refine, basically water and pull, utilizing energy to input energy to return greater energy on a more renewable level.
And then
which has
water back out of it.
And you get water back out of it. It becomes a renewable resource, which we have yet to actually see that process,
We
you know,
don't-
kind of come to true fruition in our pursuit
Yeah.
as the automotive industry.
We don't have that set up yet.
But as a business owner, I can tell you it's really hard. A lot of people look in and go, "Oh, well, just add a couple more garage doors, or just put on another 40 by 50 building." You know what I mean? And it's like, I'm just going to poof my magic wand into, you know, making these things happen.
Yeah.
And the challenge is we don't have a reason, realistically, up until recent, for a large scale investor or infrastructure creation
Right.
of this electrolysis systems, right? We're utilizing new, we're pioneering, we're utilizing new money to do this. Whereas we don't really have a great reason to switch all of a sudden.
Yep.
Why fix what's not broken?
I want to jump to the comments real quick because, well, first, Ken Kushner jumped in, said Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
We got Jerry saying ethanol is a great example of what happens or what can happen when politics override science and technology.
Mm-hmm.
Joe O'Brien, morning, still cleaning up from yesterday's BFR trip. But this one specifically I wanted to read is Mudhorn is saying, what about CNG? I have a station near me and a lot of commercial fleet vehicles run on it, bus, waste management, etc. So what about...
I'm going to tell you that I fell hard down the rabbit hole of CNG, which is going to be for our listeners compressed natural gas. We're going to do an entire podcast in the new year, and I'm just going to tell you that right now because Mudhorn, we're going to do it for you, but we're going to do it because I love it. I'm going to tell you all the reasons why I love it, and equally why, we're not there yet either.
Yep.
But it's also not a sustainable resource either.
It is not. And so, and I could tell you all about retrofitting. I could tell you where the craze was. So if I can, and again, I'm going to absolutely say, I hope the EV wasn't a trend or a craze because I'm here for it. I've been here for it for decades. But we had this hot EV market. In the early 2000s, we had a hot ethanol market. In the early 90s, we had a hot CNG market.
Yep.
And that is fact. And I will happily break it down in a future podcast, and we'll do that for you all and kind of explain where we were and what we were doing and why we were doing it. And the automotive market absolutely had, the off-road market absolutely had a heavy hand in compressed natural gas.
Yep.
And
then there was production cars that you could get as well.
Yep.
That were that way.
And Giaga Jeepers is also saying gasoline is a byproduct of diesel fuel oil production, and they used to throw it away before the invention of the combustion engine.
He is actually right. They used to burn it off.
Burn it off.
Yep.
Burn it off. And you know what frustrates the heck out of me is that diesel, and again, I'm just going to stand on my soapbox. Diesel electric, folks. Diesel is the easiest thing to make.
Yeah.
Out of that process, we could input so little energy and just produce diesel, and then we could refine diesel.
But
right?
it's smelly.
We could refine diesel, right? Let's not spend energy on the 70% of the other things that come after diesel. Let's just refine diesel into nice, clean diesel and then use that to power our electric generation. So we get kind of the best of both worlds. We get a great torque band. We get longevity out of mileage. We get to hear the vroom vroom of engines.
Yeah.
And then we get
More
electric.
efficient.
100%. I don't understand where I've gone wrong in this process, but maybe somebody out there, one of our listeners, will write in and tell me why that is the wrong thing for us to do, even though we power all of our locomotives across the world this way.
Yes.
Okay. So, but I'm back to hydrogen production because, as you mentioned, electrolysis. Now, it was interesting to hear electrolysis being arguably more expensive. What I heard you say in its crude form,
Yes.
it is more expensive because, again, the infrastructure to make it simply doesn't exist. It's
Right.
easier to take one of our functioning refineries or one of those abandoned E85 ones. Nope, not those. They're just sitting collecting dust in some farmer's field at the eminent domain. Don't worry, I'm not salty, Big Daddy government. But
Took his corn away.
you took some farmer's corn away.
Anyway.
You did, and you put a refinery there that only lasted for 5 years. But that's okay. Not a big deal. We're moving on. We're talking about hydrogen.
So
So-
something that I thought we should bring up, because everybody, we don't remember the Hindenburg incident, but in
Right.
1937, we had pretty big disaster
Yes.
with hydrogen.
Yes.
Because it also is a very light
we
molecule.
use it because it's lighter than air.
And we had airships at that time. That was going to be their 6 weeks
Yes.
of transport. Is we were going to have airships, the world.
I wrote an entire paper on that. Did you know that?
No, didn't know
I
that.
did.
And what took the literal wind out of the blimp was the fact that they had a spark. Hydrogen is very flammable, and the thing went up in like instantly.
Right.
And people, it was very, very bad.
Right. It was unstable. It's an unstable.
So we have had people go, well, how are our cars going to be safe with hydrogen fuel cells? Because now you have that bomb on the vehicle. Well, they use carbon fiber spun containers for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they say because of that you could pretty much destroy the car and that container will still be safe. That
fuel cell will be safe. And speaking of that, one of probably the most elaborate, talking about the carbon fiber chassis and container production, is we actually have a company called Hyperion, and I believe I'm saying that right. And what's fascinating about the Hyperion is their objective is to create a supercar, an all-wheel drive supercar, which is capable of 1,000-mile range, but also in speeds of excess of 212 miles per hour and 0 to 60 times under 4 seconds.
Sounds
or
like something
at 4 seconds.
Young mad scientists would have loved.
Fascinating enough, company was founded right here in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh.
In 2011. And it wasn't until 2015 they had gained enough traction that they relocated. And this is what we were talking about, access to it. And I will circle back to the refining process of how we were getting things and where stuff is coming from. They relocated to California because California has what is loosely called the hydrogen highway. And so Hyperion relocated their production and research and development team to California to take advantage of the hydrogen highway. And along the hydrogen highway, last known good statistics ranging within the last 4 years has about 42 open to the public refueling stations. Now, this is compressed hydrogen and not the fuel cell technology that you were just dipping your toes into.
Yep.
But that they actually have these, the infrastructure is being developed and prioritized there. And those facilities, and we go back to that refining process, because it's simply easier to utilize these refineries we already have that are making diesel and gasoline and the different variations thereof, and ship it into an actual place where people can publicly consume it. The buses that Jeffrey had already mentioned and a number of our other fleet vehicles that are running on this, folks listening at home may or may not know, it's actually pretty hard to get into one of the commercial fueling stations. There are fleet cards and special contracts that are set up that are accessory to our standard open to the public gas station.
At minimum, it is not the customer service experience that you were used to.
Right. And as a frustrated trucker at heart, I have found myself in a number of situations where I am attempting to refuel at a commercial or a wholesale refueling station.
But yeah, they're not friendly.
They're not friendly.
No.
They're also cumbersome. I mean, up until recently, I was refueling at one of these because, quite frankly, I just liked his diesel fuel better. And they were still writing paper carbon copy receipts. They were running my credit card number with the thing.
Yep.
And still giving me...
Step back into 1982.
I was just going to say, is like Davey, for instance, would he even know what that is? What that is that you're even talking about?
Yeah, Savage does, but maybe not everybody.
I have a fun, quick sidebar story about that specifically. I remember being at a store where they sold stereos and speakers, that kind of stuff. 'Cause as a young teenager, of course, that's what I was interested into. And the power went out. And they had all these people that had all these purchases, and suddenly their computer was down, their credit card processor was down, and all these younger people at the counter are going, what do? We just can't make sales. And this older employee pulled out from underneath the counter a machine,
Dusted up, blew on it.
blew on it, and dust came off.
Right,
And he's like, we can run cards like this. And the guys were like, what? What is that?
Yep.
Where did that come from? And the
Right.
guy was in his glory.
Yes.
The
It was
fun
his moment. It was his 15 minutes of heroism.
nowadays, you can't even pull that machine out because cards don't have the numbers embossed in them anymore.
That's
Ooh,
true.
good. That's a good point.
That is absolutely true.
So the carbon copy wouldn't do any good.
Nope.
And this
Nope.
was like 20 years ago. So
Yeah, mine was not 20 years ago. I must have still had a card. Obviously, it wasn't with one of the chip cards, so
No.
it was longer than 4 years ago, but
Yeah.
not that long ago.
yes.
And I was at a commercial refueling station, which then is a fun kind of segue to how this has crossed over into our aftermarket industry. In 2022, there was a group or a guy out of Detroit who actually retrofitted a really cool old hot rod truck and took it to race in the Optima race series, which if you watched my coverage from 2023, we actually went. It was my favorite Jeep. It was a Wagoneer or a Cherokee inspired. It was a Cherokee inspired race application, which I absolutely loved. And it was part of the Optima race series, which kind of culminates at SEMA. And they took this truck and they transported it to Las Vegas. And it was a big hoopla because it's the first and only vehicle racing in a actual sanctioned, race series that is a hydrogen-based vehicle. And it's a cool retrofitted, I think it was a red pickup truck. And unfortunately, they ran out of gas or ran out of hydrogen. They ran out of fuel mid-race. And they said they started with 6 kg, had a little bit in Detroit, ran it. They figured they still had pushing, almost 4 kg by the time they did the race series. But because the volatility of the wide open throttle and the off and on, like you were mentioning,
yes,
they ran out of fuel sooner than they could. In all of Las Vegas, they could not get refilled.
Yeah.
Obviously, the race series went on, and they had a DNF, did not finish.
Which is sad because in order to refuel a hydrogen, it's literally like 5 minutes.
It is. It
You
has
hook
this
it up,
similar refueling.
It goes poot, and it's in the vehicle, and you're done. That's one of the advantages over an EV is you don't have that hours and hours of being chained to the charging post.
Sure. And the rapid charges have a time and place, but it's been with EVs. But it's been shown that rapid charge does not equate to longevity of range,
Yes.
right? And that's standard. That's kind of your standard expectation is that we want range out of these.
Yes.
So it's pretty cool, and I'm excited about where this technology will take us. Right, we have from the manufacturing level, we have the rumor mill of your celebrity auto manufacturers to reputable auto manufacturers. I mean, Toyota themselves going on 30 plus years of actually producing a viable hydrogen vehicle, and yet we don't have any infrastructure here in certainly the Midwest, Great Lakes, Northeastern region to satisfy or support it. So Toyota saying, we're going to give you free fuel, and people are not even able to take advantage of it post that, I'm excited about where the future will take us. There's a couple unknown manufacturers who are also kind of playing in this game, just like EV with Rivian and Lordstown and a handful of other ones. We're in a state of pioneering, and I hope, as I've mentioned specifically, like EV, that it's not a fad or a trend or something that's going to go away, but something that will help us diversify as certainly as the United States, but globally, and we can develop infrastructure and technologies that will allow us to enjoy our vehicles for many, many, many years in the future. I think that that's one of the challenges when people suggest change. As humans, we kind of take our little red ball and go, but I like playing with my red ball the exact way that I'm playing with it now, and I don't want to play a new game, And so that doesn't have to be that way, right? I mean, the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles or the ability to have, onboard internal combustion and EV or hydrogen and EV gives us these appropriate stepping stones where we get to still enjoy the vehicle, like the Optimo Race Series, or the Hyperion, kind of supercar experience. And the stuff, the passion that we love about the automotive industry doesn't go away. And certainly as off-roaders, we still have a lot of the form and function that we can, still go out and go camping and go off-road, and we can do these things. And so change doesn't have to be bad, but it is still change.
Yep.
So hopefully we've taken you from rumor mill to factual production to aftermarket and infrastructure, and you have kind of a good taste for the potentiality for hydrogen-based vehicles in the future. I don't think anything's going away anytime soon. I think we're just kind of in a stepping stone as we broaden our horizons, and kind of that fossil fuel petro grip loosens a little bit more. In the future, and when I say the future, I do mean the new year, we'll do a CNG one and talk about how much I loved potentially running my vehicles on CNG or propane of sorts. They're not the same, but similar technologies go into it. I suppose that covers things for now. The parade is this weekend. You still have time to get yourself some really cool merchandise. Head over to sfj4x4.com or hit us up on our Facebook page managers. Message us. Let us know what your order will be. We'll take care of you from there. It's been a rip-roaring good time. Anything else for the good of the order, Jeffrey?
Other than to just stay tuned if you want to listen into us, just chit-chat afterwards.
It has been a good transition. If you didn't know, we do sign off, and we do that kind of intentional so that you can enjoy just the kind of the technical content before we start to kind of BS about our weekends. But if you find that to be amusing as well, and we did have a pretty fun-filled weekend, stay tuned, and you'll hear some of that as well. Until then, Jeep on.
Jeep on.
Jeep on.
I actually had two other manufacturers I didn't get to, which is probably best because one is called River Simple. That one I can pronounce, but that's the actual name of the auto manufacturer. Because who did Tesla? There's another EV manufacturer that
This is a great story.
Yeah. Who did Tesla kind of? Who did Tesla kind of steal the idea from? Right,
Tesla.
No,
Nikolai Tesla.
No. So
Nikolai Tesla was
there's
the original,
another EV manufacturer out there.
Well, there was Tesla originally was two brothers, and then Elon bought it and said they don't exist anymore.
Yeah,
they're a Mandela effect.
Yeah, the Mandela effect. Yeah, they didn't actually create this. I did.
Yes.
It's like you and your hydrogen. I dreamt this up as a little kid with my grandma. You know what I mean? You can buy Hyperion. I made this. I'll give you credit. I'll stand by you, buddy. Don't worry. I will. So River Simple is the one I could totally pronounce. Pininfarina. P-I-N. Pinin. P-I-N-I-N-F-A-R-I-N-A.
Paraphernalia?
Pininfarina.
So there used to be, I think it was an Italian designer that was called that. They used to do some American Motor stuff. They had a special little logo on the side of the cars. They had really fancy interiors and that kind of stuff. If I'm not mistaken.
It's fascinating because actually some of my research in the process, I found a bunch of stuff from Renault.
Renault.
Yeah, you know how much I love Renault. I'm America. I'm gonna call it Renault. Yeah. That's what I used to call it when I was.
I did have a question about the hydrogen that I should have asked during the episode.
Renault. Is that what you asked? Okay.
No. If the byproduct is water, how does that do in our climate in the winter?
It's fine. It's just an
now
ice
you got to
slick.
add a heater so that you don't ice up on your exhaust.
Especially if you're shutting it off.
And you're just dumping water in front of the other vehicle for it to become ice.
Yes.
It's fine.
Over.
And I'm sure it's not a
like
lot of
James
water being
Bond.
dumped,
It's like
but
James
it's still,
Bond, you know what I mean?
Because water vapor is what it
Right,
actually
it's
is.
water vapor.
But still.
It's fun to think of.
Yeah.
It's like James Bond. I'm just gonna put my water slick out.
Yeah, you actually have a collection tank that collects it all and lets it condensate, and then you dump it.
It's like when your windshield washer gets way too powerful and you can actually blow it over the vehicle. Now I'm just spraying the water off. It's like a little fire hose on board.
There you go.
Discharge as I go through, an intersection. So we know what we did this weekend, sort of.
Well, our Patreons definitely know what we did this weekend if they're logging into that.
We found out that
Neil did this weekend.
Yeah, well, we found out that that the mad scientist is a closet bowling enthusiast.
No, I just own a bowling ball. And because I own a bowling ball, I needed a bag for it.
We're gonna set this up as the fact that this was your daughter's birthday party.
Yep.
We show up at the bowling alley.
Well, it's important to note. So her birthday was on the 8th, and we tried to call the bowling alley 16,000 times. And we tried to schedule this closer to her birthday, to which they were like, not happening. We're too busy. You have to go with this one and only date. And we're like, oh, okay, fine. We'll bend. We're easy to adapt.
Well, I think it's valuable for any of the listeners at home, which might sound abstract because, and obviously we're not supposed to be talking necessarily that way, but we're kind of in the middle of, like, despite the fact that we're not far from Pittsburgh or Cleveland or Buffalo, we also don't have a ton of resources.
No.
So this is like, that's kind of what
we want to go bowling.
We have like two choices.
And
the bowling alley was literally listed as closed online. Doesn't have a website, doesn't have a Facebook page.
But they were open.
It was actually really nice lane.
So nice.
It was nice. It was. It was very great. Other than, once Neil was there and the guy got angry at him again.
Listen.
But anyway, you have to wait for that part. So anyway, we've set it all up. The wives texted a lot, and the guys kind of slowly got breadcrumbs of what was going on.
I had no idea what was happening.
I was going to say, you didn't know until I asked you a week ago, and you're like,
That's 100% true.
What party?
Literally, Saturday, went to leave here. Jeff was still working on stuff that if you're coming to the Christmas parade, you will get to see. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he's like, hey, where's the bowling alley? I said, I think it's the one in Conneaut, but I'm not positive.
Wow, you were really in on things.
And I had this great plan where I was like, hey, I'll just have Amy, my wife, text you or your wife what it is. What does this joker do? As soon as we get in the parking lot.
Oh,
the bus was like, the bus was revving up
that accelerator.
And I was like,
the accelerator.
And he's like, oh, Scott didn't even know what bowling alley was at. And it went off like a hitch. I called my wife on the way home. It's like, hey, honey, can you just let Krista know what the address is? Those Erie people, they don't really know.
It's
oh, yeah, that's no problem. Wham! Bus hits me off to the front side.
Scott's an idiot. He doesn't even care about his daughter's birthday. That's what Jeff's doing.
Pretty much.
DJ.
Yep.
Anyway, so we go in, and of course, Jeff beats everyone there, typical.
It's because I left the shop to go there. And it's a block from the shop.
It's true.
You'll enjoy this. I went to go, basically how we do test rides over to the alignment shop.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, no, you're going the wrong way. Calm down, wifey.
I was going to say, we drive past it all the time for test drives.
I got this.
Right.
It's not the normal way that you're used to.
But it's okay.
So I redeemed myself, went to a parking lot beer, and nice. Jeff's truck sitting there waiting for us.
Nice.
Well, yeah, you actually came in at one of the entrances. I passed the first entrance and went, oh, I should have turned in there. Oh, well, and just drove up over
Jeep
the curb.
Right over the curb.
And parked.
Yeah.
Well, that's why they were angry with us already.
That's why.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
So we tried to go in the first entrance.
They were happy. Everybody was great. And then Neil walked in and the mood changed.
It did.
Immediately. Half the staff just immediately walked out the door. They're gone.
They bounced.
Half the staff. It was 2 people, so 1 left.
That's true, though.
Don't let facts get in the way of the good story.
Right?
That's true.
Especially when it's facts.
Right. Facts.
So we had basically 3 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
We had 2 kid lanes and my wife.
There was 18 or 20 lanes there. Nobody else in the bowling alley.
No,
because they were closed.
We were allowed 3 lanes.
Yes. So we had just kids. Then we had my wife and mostly kids. And then we had us guys. And Jen when she got there.
Right. Classic Jen.
Yeah, I guess classic Jen. Neil was Jen for the first game.
Oh yeah, I was exhausted.
What we weren't prepared for is we had a sandbagger in our group.
Yes,
'Cause-
there was a
I would
con amongst us.
I wouldn't call that a sandbagger.
Oh well, I haven't bowled in 15 years, guys.
Yeah. But I was quite the bowler originally, though.
I was a league bowler.
If-
But
if
it's
I
been
would've-
15 years.
If I would have known that you were bringing your balls, I would have brought mine.
If you can't,
True.
if you didn't know,
That's all true.
That's what.
I literally said, I could have brought mine. I even have shoes. And Scott's like, I don't have shoes.
Yeah, not that hardcore.
And then I went, maybe I should just not admit that fact.
so
you
then,
should not admit that fact.
So then we go up the bowl, and at first I thought I was going to do all right. Then I promptly fell on my
I
face.
thought you were going to be a stud.
And then
Jeff.
Jeff,
he goes up there and bowls a strike and then a spare, and we're like, holy crap.
yeah, and then it went downhill much faster from there. But Jeff just once he realized he could use my ball,
Right.
it was like game changed.
It was a game changer. Well, we use his tools constantly. I
That-
feel like
that's
it's a little.
that's-
There's
that
a
is
little bit of a
fair.
trade-off.
Yeah.
That is fair. But the best part is that my wife on the kids' side
She was
decimated
screaming.
everybody.
Yeah,
The
maybe
first
the
game, yeah.
the whole
First
oh,
game.
Oh, here, Jeff. The first game. Because
No,
I brought the heat in the second
But-
game. I was just getting warmed up.
No,
It's been 15 years, but
I'm gonna add, because the first game she bowled for Leo, who was
Mm-hmm.
with your wife, and herself. So by the second game, she was also
tired.
exhausted.
yeah.
So she had a rougher time on the second game.
The best part about this bowling alley is they had Ballosauruses, is what we decided
Ballosaurus,
they were
clearly that's
called.
what it was.
It was a basically looked like a dinosaur,
But
It
it
was
was
a ramp.
the ball ramp for the little kids.
and it's
And
first
Neil.
and
And
Neil.
Neil. Actually, none of the kids used it until you dragged it out and used it.
Literally why I used it, so the kids would feel comfortable
Sure.
using it.
That's no, it's not.
Whatever. Whatevs.
And
wanted to
something
use
I
it.
had never seen before. This had automated bumps. So for those who don't know, when you have an 8-year-old little girl that's going to sit down on her butt and roll the ball down there, or use her dinosaur ramp, which Uncle Neil showed her.
Yep.
You need bumpers so they don't go in the gutter.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And so that the lane manager doesn't yell at us, well, you got to shove it harder down the lane.
which happened.
They're like 8 and their arms are the size of toothpicks. I
Yes.
mean, let's have a realistic expectation here.
Yes, and also will keep the ball from going down the aisle and out the back door of the bowling alley. That may or may not have happened.
Yeah, that was unfortunate.
Yeah, definitely.
I've never seen a ball bowled out of the building. That was fascinating to me. Remarkable.
It wasn't out of the building. It was into the back of the building where they actually maintain the lanes.
That's just an SFJ difference.
It was just
Your son was falling in your footsteps. He was an overachiever.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It's like this is something different.
He's like, I'm gonna hit the pins all the way in the back where we can't see them.
The back storage closet.
Takes out the whole closet. Who cares?
It's fine. But yeah, it was a good time.
It was fun.
Jeff is, obviously the bowler extraordinaire.
No,
If you've ever watched,
No.
if you've ever been tortured by watching like PBR on ESPN in the middle of the night when they have to have it on for some contractual obligation,
Golf has played out.
I mean,
and the
God
bass
forbid.
bass.
you said
fish-
PBR. I think you meant PBA.
I don't even know. I guess
But we
maybe you
haven't
need
got-
a PBR after watching bowling,
But we haven't gone all the way to bass fishing shows yet.
right?
We had that in term where
Yes.
we're going to do bowling shows.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's Jeff bowling.
That's watching Jeff bowl.
Yes.
I mean, he has this
Little
form,
flick of the
this
the
little
toe.
flick. He's got this little body thing going
Yeah.
on. I was not ready for
I
this.
love when you tried to mimic it and you went up and you did the little syncopated booty shake ahead of time and then complete straight in. Watch the video on Patreon. I'm not going to say what actually happened.
Yeah.
The syncopated booty shake might have been for good measure. Let's.
Yeah.
let's
I
just
mean,
be
at that point, you just knew.
You watch the Patreon video and determine.
there
if
was
that
this
for
great
good
little
measure.
twinkle toe thing that you did.
Yes.
I don't know, but
yeah.
it was not.
So-
I don't love bowling. If people maybe do or don't, if know enough about me, I like contact sports. I like intensity. I'm not really a great golfer. As far as I'm a great competitor. I want to compete at everything.
Yes.
But my
especially
attention,
when his wife is involved.
especially
Your competition
throw
level,
down.
the first game You were ready. You were trying to come for me. That second game, you're like, I don't even care. I'm
Dude,
just here
I
to have
had the
fun.
best workout in the morning, and then I just would bowled that first game, and I used up every bit of fuel in the gas tank.
Yeah.
I was done. I was smoked, you know.
Yeah.
And
The
you know,
best
but-
part is at the start of the second game, the grumpy old man just turned his back to us and started watching football.
Yeah.
He was not here for our
I was
shenanigans.
not here for our
No,
shenanigans.
he was like, I'll watch Ohio State play and just ignore that they're even here.
Yes, pretty much.
You know what? So the thing is, great family, great local family who's incredibly charitable to the local community. I applaud them for that. I've grown up going to that bowling alley for social functions,
And
right?
that is inherent the problem.
And that inherently is the problem because
Because they know you too well.
I have shenaniganed too much in that bowling alley.
Yes. Maybe you should
and-
do a public apology.
And my name is Neil Simpson, and I apologize for catapulting, shot putting, and hiking the ball across multiple alleys and lanes at the local L Camp lanes. Please sincerely accept my apology for the fact that I can't grow up.
And we'll be
Inside-
doing it again.
And we'll be doing it again.
Yes.
There you go. That was it.
Yep.
Yeah, so it was a good time. And then honestly, I peeled out. Jennifer and I peeled out because we had the opportunity, a good friend of ours. So we left the fun birthday party and we immediately banged down to Akron, to the Akron Civic Center, to what I believe has the potential to be one of the best up and coming symphonies, which I think is just you guys are going to absolutely love. And it is literally called the Video Game Symphony, or VGS. And they tout themselves as the only complete orchestral ensemble in the world who plays a 100% video game score, meaning all of their music has been composed in-house from notable video games and online games and computer games. So if you're into gaming, this
Speaks to your soul.
Speaks to your soul. And so a good friend of ours and kind of a regular, kind of just removed from the business, the Angry Turtle, is, you know, coordinated this group to go down, and Jason got us all tickets, and it was awesome. And we sat down not knowing 100% what to expect. And of course they open, I think they open with The Legend of Zelda, which is obviously pretty recognizable music.
Especially to our generation.
Correct. And then of course they go after that, which is it's a whole piece. So it's, 5 to 7 minute long piece. They go into Mario
Yep.
and have just this great composition of Mario inspired music, and then into Halo. And I'm going to tell you right now, Halo was one of like the best. Like it was
Halo
insane.
had some really epic music in
It's
it.
just epic music. And
So I can't even imagine how that scored out.
And the thing is, I'm not a great video gamer. This is kind of what I was going into before. And I'm not a great bowler. I'm not a great golfer. I never got into video games. I like big, bold, intense building. Physical contact. All that kind of stuff. But I obviously I love music, and as I just can appreciate craftsmanship, and that's what this was. It was so incredibly cool. And I recommend that you should check them out on Facebook. You should, check them out on, I think it's called videogamesymphony.com. And they're going to be doing a tour. And I know they're actually going to be in our local area in April. And I'm really looking forward to it because I know that you guys, Scott went through a whole period where you were a big video game collector.
Still, yeah.
Still? Okay.
Kinda.
I knew you had liquidated some of it for the 36. The 36 had eaten
the,
some of it
the
up.
rare ones went away,
Okay.
but yeah, I still have a lot of video games.
Okay. I knew the 36 had commanded some of them.
Yeah.
I dabbled in video games. I was never like a hardcore gamer, but I definitely played some of the iconic ones like Zelda and Mario Brothers and on majority of the game systems.
Right.
Yeah.
And I just think like it was just kind of the coolest thing. So
Yeah.
Definitely a big recommendation. Did you guys have anything else as far as? And from there, we drove home in the middle of the night. Sunday was another party. The whole shooting match. The Simpsons kept moving. We were moving and grooving the whole weekend.
I think the biggest thing that people will get a kick out of is we accidentally bought a $5 bread machine.
Yeah, you were on a kick on that.
And we actually had points at the place where we got it. So it was actually free. We had $5
Are you telling me
points.
that there's a thrift store that has a point system?
Kind of.
Holy cow.
And we frequented enough that we had points.
He says that.
I
Thrift store.
So it doesn't
It's a
have
thrift store.
It doesn't
right?
have
Not a bargain store, is it?
It's a restore store.
So it doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't have points for the normal person. But if you go there as often as the Brown family, apparently, you get points.
Anyway, we got
Okay.
a free bread machine. We looked it up. It's still sold new. They're like $130 to $150.
Okay.
So we're feeling pretty
You're
good
feeling
with
pretty good.
ourselves.
You're deal shopping there.
Then
bargain
we
hunting.
learn about regular all-purpose flour, and there's bread flour. Had no idea.
Oh yeah.
We're going against the grain. We're doing brown. We're doing all-purpose flour.
Mhm.
Amy's critiquing things to make it work, but made some yummy banana bread. Made 2 loaves of white bread. The first one was a little dense.
Yeah.
But I still ate it. I'm here for it. The funniest part, though, probably why it was donated. There's a little
tang in the middle.
tang in the middle that spins.
Yep.
That actually comes out.
Yep.
We didn't know that.
Comes in your bread. When you pull the bread out, it stays in the bread.
Yeah. There's a whole thing of when you should remove it, how you should remove it, that kind of stuff. And we're all pulling on it. It won't come out. So I went to the garage, got some vice grips, got some towels, got a hammer, got a punch, made that thing come apart.
did not.
So then, come to find out, the bin that the bread is made in is aluminum.
Yep.
That got bent a little bit. Had to do body work on that.
Oh my
Body
goodness.
working the bread pan.
Got it all cleaned out. So now the little paddle
Yep.
comes on and off like it's supposed to. But I had to go to the metal shop and get serious on it. That's probably why I got donated. But we're here for it. We can fix it.
You can adapt and overcome on the
Yeah.
bread machine.
So-
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a bread machine, and I do. We can share bread recipes.
I had a bread machine growing up. I just make it in the oven now.
Yeah, I love both ways.
Yeah.
I love both ways.
We did another mystery game night. So
Nice.
this one was London. So that was really fun. A lot of historic site references.
Did you use the accent though?
No.
Big letdown.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity.
No,
Had
but
an
we did
opportunity.
that and we
Could've
watched
used the
the
British
new Bad
accent.
Boys because you and Greg had both talked about it.
Yep.
And Netflix on my account it's locked out, so I said fine, and I looked it up and it was on sale for $9 digitally, so I just said bought it.
Mhm.
And I was like, I hope I'm not disappointed in this movie. It was really good.
Good.
I
I was-
actually have to go back and finish watching it because the kids got out of bed, made us stop watching it, and we haven't gotten back to it yet.
Yeah.
There were several points in the movie that I'm like, what? We were looking at each other going, what were they smoking when they wrote this? But other parts of the movie, I mean, it was hilarious.
It was pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah, we got to where he's eating the Skittles as the
Oh.
guns are shooting.
So the beginning of the movie, I think that's like the opening scene.
That's what they got to. But you took his reference based on he watched 30 seconds of the opening scene. That's good, Jeff. That's good. We're ride or die here. Welcome to the SFJ family. Full commit. Now you know what Scott's steak was. Yeah, Scott and Greg recommended it.
Oh boy, yeah, that's not.
Yeah,
that's
it's a
not
Bad
great.
Boys movie. It's gonna be good, no matter what.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know. I guess we should probably just sign off at this point.
I thought there was music that
There
vamped
was,
out
but
on
I
us.
never hit it because I wasn't taught.
Oh,
all right.
Jeffrey.
You know what? Happy Thanksgiving to anybody. If you're still in there with us, we hope to see you at the Christmas parade. We thank you for being part of this. I hope you shared it. If you're watching on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, do all those kind of good things. Share the goodness, and we'll see you at the Christmas specials and then in the new year.
Yep.
Yep.